It's a new worry on our southern border tonight, with border agents overwhelmed by this huge
on the books that would actually say that we should have an organized process and we should have a
Mexico
wide
sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems.
The social justice class is based on principles that are non-traditional in most classrooms. The belief being that a student can learn from different elements other than textbooks.
So a main component of the class is to be able to take the kids to the border, which is really complex. It talks on the border encompasses not only immigration, the drug trade, the life of the farmers.
We're right on the border, and most students grow up here but don't realize the impact of living between these two vastly different countries.
And it's out of the box actually to take students to an uncomfortable environment, which is the border, which is really complex. Santiago Tijuana becomes a microcosm of all the problems that are embedded on the 2,000-mile border that we have.
Immigration is one of the most prevalent controversies in our modern day society, and through this class we've been able to analyze and dispute the cultural, political, and social and economic aspects and intricacies of immigration through different points of views, from people visiting places and watching videos, and it's been really informative and eye-opening to be able to understand all these different points of views.
No wall can stand against the yearning of justice, the yearnings for freedom, the yearnings for peace that burns in the human heart.
¿Qué opina usted sobre el cerco que tenemos con Estados Unidos? ¿En su opinión?
Mi opinión sobre el cerco. Pues mi opinión sobre el cerco es que el hombre es libre por naturaleza y todos los cercos que le ponen le cuartan su libertad.
My name is Luis Jesus Ortiz. I'm 20 years old. I got deported 3 days ago. I crossed the border when I was 5 years old. I'm only 20. I've been there for 15 years of my life. I can even speak French better than I can speak Spanish. Like, I went to high school, I took that shit for 4 years. I have no idea. I've seen walking around here, I've seen people get mugged. I've been mugged. I've been stopped by the cops. They've been taking my money. Like, to be honest, I wish I could go home. I know I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 20 years old, but I'd give anything to be with my family. When I talk to my mom on the phone, like, I cry. Like, I'll even tear up right now. Like, it's bad. Like, just be able to be taken from your family, your home, your place. Like, I'm basically an American. Immigration out there, like, they don't play it. They'll take you, like, they'll snatch you. Well, I can be resentful as fuck, but as long as they give me a chance to go back, I don't care what they do to me. I don't belong out here.
What fault is it of the kids that their parents brought them across the border without papers? It's not the kids' fault. So they can't go to school? I'm talking about your little brothers, little sisters, if they were undocumented. They get sick, they can't go to the doctor? That's crazy.
You know, a lot of times we hear about deportation and immigrants and stuff, but we don't see what happens, you know, once they're gone. You know, it's kind of out of our sight. We get to see you know, how that affects people and how it doesn't matter where you're from, you just kind of get dumped off wherever and you have to like figure out what you're going to do. Like a lot of these people, their lives just gets turned upside down.
Some of them are 40-year-old men, some of them are 18-year-olds just like us, and all the stories are so different, but they've all come so far from where they were a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. I was talking with someone at dinner and he was telling me all about his son, who's our age, and how his son is still in Detroit and in Michigan because he was born there. And he's like, well, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get back there. I'm going to get back to my son.
I became really emotional hearing their stories, and it's just like, and then seeing them break down. Like, we were at dinner and the guy that was telling his story was right in front of us, and he just kind of stopped and just put his head down, and then his eyes are red when we...
That was really interesting when we drove past the part of the border where all the crosses for everyone who had died were there, and then it said Quantas Mas, and that is kind of, I mean, I know it's not as popular a place anymore to cross as some like other places, but it was kind of like, it's real, you know.
So one of the first trips that we went on was the trip to Hakamba, which is a small little sleepy town right on the border, and the fences just runs right along the town. And it's a pretty popular place for migrants to cross, especially up near the mountains there.
Bueno, nos encontramos en Jacumba, California, en la mitad del desierto. Literalmente, la frontera se encuentra dividida en el desierto de California y es un área muy común donde los inmigrantes suelen saltar este muro que ustedes ven de contención. Aquí podemos ver unas zapatillas hechas que la hacen con el fin de borrar sus huellas y tratar de disuadir a la patrulla fronteriza. Sin embargo, es un área muy peligrosa ya que muchos inmigrantes mueren del intenso calor. Recientemente, desde el 2012, más de 2,000 inmigrantes en esta área han sido tratados por el calor, deshidratación.
You just look down at your feet and there was some full water bottles and there was some slashed water bottles too. And we went out there and we placed a couple water jugs out there, but honestly, who knows if anyone actually got to use those water jugs or if people just came by and they cut them too. Anyone who would cut the water bottle and make it so that the people who are thirsty coming across the border don't get any water, it's just like they're pretty much sentencing those migrants to die. Because without water and that high heat out there, it's a death sentence.
People don't really understand the emotional impact that looking at the border has unless you actually go there yourself. Like, looking at it in a movie is one thing, but actually being there in person is another.
I'd grown up looking at numbers. I was looking at the numbers of the people coming over without documents. I was looking at the number of drugs coming over, looking at the number of guns, number of crimes, rapes, assaults, and I wasn't looking at the people anymore. I was just looking at the numbers, and sadly the numbers are what's being told and not the people, not the lives, not the stories.
And there's a part where we went to where the people can come up to the gate, but they only have room to put a finger in between, and so the most contact that two people in the same family could have is touching each other's finger, and that was really hard to look at, and we didn't even see the people there, and that was hard for me to see because I couldn't imagine if my mom or my dad was on the other side, and that was the most contact I could possibly have with them.
Viven del otro lado de México, no específicamente para los que trabajan aquí, o sea, para todos los que cruzan la frontera. Cambian porque empiezan a pensar que vienen a ser males, y no es así, o sea, yo pienso que las personas que cruzan la frontera, principalmente por la línea, traen sus documentos, y son mínimos, yo pienso muy mínimos los que traen alguna otra cosa mal, como drogas o cosas así, y están como bastante revisados, hay bastantes perros, o sea, es muy difícil que gente trate de hacer algo mal.
All of us here are immigrants, and I think that coming into this country and then closing the door behind you seems very hypocritical.
No one's going to just decide we're going to roll over and play dead. People are going to keep trying to come over. People are going to keep trying to make better lives for themselves. And what we have to decide, I think, is whether or not what we're actually doing is right.
When we welcome the immigrant with his talents or her dreams, we are renewed. As long as walls exist in our hearts to separate us from those who don't look like us or think like us or worship as we do,